She only thought she was doing the right thing, unaware that that moment would lead her on an unimaginable journey, a buried secret, a forgotten truth, and an encounter that would change both of them forever. What really happened after that seemingly simple decision? Before we dive into the story, please let us know where you're watching from. Share your city or country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow, we'll bring you another inspiring story, made just for you. The story begins late in the afternoon, as the sun began to set behind the city's tall buildings. Emily, a young female police officer with blonde hair and determined eyes, patrolled the busy streets. She had been working for 8 consecutive hours, her eyes tired but still carefully observing everything around her. Suddenly, she noticed a figure lying motionless on the sidewalk. Her heart pounded as she realized it was an elderly, thin, black man wearing tattered clothes. His wrinkled face was full of fatigue. Without hesitation, Emily stopped the car, got out, and approached him. She gently shook him, trying to wake him up, but there was no response. He didn't move, his pale face making her worried about his health. Seeing no one around willing to help, Emily quickly decided to call an ambulance. She knew time was of the essence, and she couldn't leave the man in this condition. While waiting for the ambulance, Emily sat down next to him, placing her hand on his shoulder as a gesture of comfort. She silently prayed that he would wake up soon. In that moment, she felt a strange connection with the man. He looked like someone who had endured a lot in his life, and she couldn't help but feel sorry for him. The flashing lights of the ambulance appeared in the distance, breaking the silence of the late afternoon. When the ambulance arrived, the paramedics quickly got out and placed the man on a stretcher. Emily stood there watching their professional movements, her heart full of worry. One of them asked her about the man's condition, but Emily could only shake her head because she knew nothing about him. No identification, no sign of who he was. He was like a mystery placed before her eyes. Emily decided to follow the ambulance to the hospital. She knew that her duty didn't just stop at discovering the man. She had to ensure that he would receive the best care. Arriving at the hospital, the man was quickly taken into the emergency room. Emily sat in the waiting area, watching other patients move back and forth. Her mind was constantly thinking about the mysterious man. She wondered who he was, why he had collapsed there, and whether he had a family worried about him. After a while, a doctor came out of the emergency room and approached Emily, telling her that the man was no longer in critical condition but needed further monitoring. Emily felt relieved, as if a weight had been lifted off her chest. She decided to stay at the hospital to make sure he wouldn't have to face this situation alone. Once the man's condition stabilized, the doctor asked Emily for his personal information, but it was all a big question mark. No identification, no belongings that could help identify him. The man seemed to be a lost soul in this luxurious city. Emily looked at his wrinkled face through the window of the hospital room, her heart full of sympathy. The man said nothing, his eyes blankly staring at the ceiling as if trying to remember something. Emily couldn't leave. She felt a responsibility to help him find his family, or at least his identity. She decided to stay by his side until she found any clues about his relatives. She sat by his bed, trying to talk to him, asking about anything he might remember, but all she received were tired shakes of his head. The doctor informed her that the man might have temporary amnesia due to some psychological shock and needed time to recover. Emily sighed, knowing that finding his identity would not be easy, but she didn't want to give up. She felt that there was something very special about this man, a connection she couldn't explain. She decided to stay a little longer to support him through this difficult time. The doctor explained that the man's amnesia could be due to a major psychological shock, perhaps from a traumatic event or a significant upheaval in his life. Emily listened, feeling a weight in her heart. She looked at the man lying on the hospital bed with tired eyes and couldn't help but think about what he had gone through. He didn't remember who he was, where he came from, or why he had collapsed on the sidewalk that day. Emily could feel the pain he was enduring. She decided that she couldn't abandon him. She asked the hospital for permission to stay and take care of the man, at least until they found any information about his family. Every day, Emily visited him, bringing snacks and trying to talk to him. She hoped that her care and sincere affection could help him remember something. There were moments when the man's eyes seemed to light up with a glimmer of hope, as if he was about to call out something, but then it all sank back into darkness. Emily didn't get discouraged. She remained patiently by his side, listening to his unclear whispers and trying to understand the fragmented memories he shared. She knew that to help him recover his memory, she needed to be persistent and never give up. Day after day, Emily began to feel that the man was not just someone she had met on the street, but someone dear to her, someone who needed her protection. She felt a connection forming between them, a silent but extremely meaningful bond, and she knew she wouldn't stop until she discovered the truth about this mysterious man. Emily began planning to search for the man's family. She posted information about him on social media along with photos and the most detailed description she could provide. She hoped that someone, a family member or an acquaintance, would recognize him and contact her. The first few days passed without any news, but Emily didn't lose hope. She continued to post, hoping that someone would recognize him. Besides posting online, Emily also went to the areas around where she had found the man to inquire about him. She talked to street vendors, residents in the neighborhood, and even homeless people. She showed them his picture, hoping that someone would recognize him. Although many people didn't know anything about him, a few remembered seeing him wandering around the area, but they didn't know who he was. In her search, Emily faced many challenges. Some people were indifferent and unwilling to cooperate, and there were times when she felt helpless because she couldn't find any useful information. But every time she looked into the man's eyes, she felt that she couldn't give up. She knew he needed her very much, and she couldn't leave him to face this loneliness alone. One day, when Emily visited the man at the hospital, some of her colleagues also came to visit. They had heard about the man's story and knew that Emily had spent a lot of time and effort helping him. They brought some food and drinks, sat with Emily and the man, creating a warm and compassionate atmosphere. At first, the man seemed quite shy in front of strangers, but with everyone's patience and friendliness, he began to feel more comfortable. Emily's colleagues tried to talk to him, sharing funny and humorous stories, hoping they could lift his spirits. One of them even brought a small guitar and played some gentle melodies for entertainment. Emily saw the man's first smile since she met him and her heart melted. She knew that he was gradually feeling the love from those around him, and this could help him regain his memory. Emily's colleagues were also touched by her dedication. They understood that not everyone could give so much love and care to a stranger like that. As time passed, the relationship between Emily and the man grew closer. Every day after work, she visited him at the hospital, bringing small gifts like candy, fruit, or a book full of humorous short stories. The man didn't say much, but his eyes, whenever he looked at Emily, were filled with gratitude and affection. Some afternoons, Emily would sit by his bed reading stories to him. Fairy tales and meaningful stories about life seemed to bring him comfort. He often listened with a calm expression, occasionally nodding or smiling gently. Sometimes he would fall into a pensive state, as if trying to recall lost fragments of memory. One day, as Emily was reading a book to him, the man suddenly asked her about her life. Emily was surprised, but she was very happy to see that he was becoming more open. She told him about her work as a police officer, about the challenges, joys, and hardships she had faced. The man listened attentively, his eyes showing sincere interest. Although he didn't say much, his presence had become an indispensable part of Emily's life. One morning, when Emily visited the man as usual, she found him sitting on the bed, holding a small piece of paper. It was a piece of paper that one of the medical staff had found in his coat pocket when he was brought to the hospital, but they hadn't paid much attention to it before. Emily rushed over and examined the piece of paper carefully. On it was a name and an address, although the writing was quite faded and difficult to read. Emily felt her heart pounding. This could be the first clue about the man's identity. She quickly asked the doctor for permission to take the paper and decided to go to that address. She felt a wave of hope surging in her heart, as if she was about to discover an important part of the mystery. Emily drove to the address written on the piece of paper. It was an old neighborhood with dilapidated houses and narrow streets. She knocked on the door of the house written on the piece of paper, but no one answered. She asked the neighbors around, and someone remembered that an elderly man used to live there, but he had left a long time ago and no one knew where he had gone. Although the information wasn't as accurate as she had hoped, at least she had a little clue about the man's past. Emily returned to the hospital and told the man about what she had found. He listened, his eyes flashing with a glimmer of hope, but then he fell silent as if trying to search in his buried memories. Emily knew she had taken another step in the journey to discover his identity, and she wouldn't stop there. She was determined to continue, even if the road ahead was full of challenges and difficulties. Emily couldn't stop thinking about the piece of paper with the name and address she had found. She felt as if she had begun to unravel the mystery. Every day after her shift, Emily spent time learning more about the neighborhood where the man used to live, about the people in that area. She met and talked with the elderly residents in the neighborhood, those who had lived there for a long time. Some of them remembered an elderly man who used to live in that house, but they couldn't remember his name or why he had disappeared. Emily didn't give up. She decided to go to the police station and ask for help from the records department. With the support of her colleagues, she found an old record of a man whose name matched the name on the piece of paper. According to the record, he used to be a civil servant and lived a normal life until he disappeared 1 year ago. His family had reported him missing, but the case made no progress due to a lack of clear clues. This information made Emily feel both happy and sad. She felt that she had made a big step in helping the man regain his past, but she was also sad to know that he had lived alone for such a long time. Emily returned to the hospital and told the man what she had found. He listened, his eyes becoming distant as if trying to recall things that had been buried by time. She took his hand and gently said, "We won't give up. We will find your family." Those words were a promise, not only to the man but also to herself. One early morning, as Emily was getting ready to go to work, she received a call from the police chief. His voice was full of emotion, asking her to come to the office immediately. Emily felt that something important had happened. She rushed to the police station, her heart full of worry about the man and what might have happened. When she entered the office, the police chief looked at her with grateful and appreciative eyes. He explained that they had received a call from a woman who claimed to be the man's daughter. The woman had seen Emily's post on social media and recognized her missing father. Emily felt her heart pounding with joy. She couldn't believe that someone had finally recognized the man. The police chief asked Emily to contact the woman and arrange a meeting. Emily held the phone, her hands trembling with emotion. She called the woman. Her voice choked up when she heard the woman's emotional voice. The woman said that she had been searching for her father for the past 1 year and had never given up hope. Emily could feel the pain and hope in every word she spoke. She knew that this would be an extremely emotional moment for the whole family. A few days later, Emily arranged for the man's daughter to come to the hospital to see her father. She couldn't help but feel nervous as she stood waiting by the hospital room door with the woman. The woman, named Sarah, held an old family photo. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked through the window into the room where her father was lying. The man was sitting on the bed, his eyes looking into the distance, unaware that he was about to be reunited with his family. Emily opened the door and entered with Sarah. When he saw Sarah, the man suddenly froze, his eyes widening as if he recognized something. Sarah approached her father, took his hand and whispered, "Dad, it's me, Sarah." A moment of emotional silence passed. Then suddenly the man burst into tears. The tears streamed down his tired eyes as if all the pain and loss of the past year had finally found an outlet. Sarah hugged her father tightly, and Emily felt her own eyes stinging with emotion. She stepped back, giving them some private space. The nurses in the room also stood silently, all immersed in this profound moment of reunion. Emily knew that her efforts and patience had truly been rewarded. She had helped mend a broken family and witnessed the love between a father and daughter reconnect. After the man was reunited with his daughter, Emily thought that everything had finally come to a happy ending, but she never imagined that the story would take an unexpected turn. The day after the reunion, Sarah came to the police station and requested a private meeting with Emily in the police chief's office. Sarah expressed her deepest gratitude to Emily for what she had done for her family. Sarah revealed that her father was actually the police chief's biological father. The man had left the family a long time ago due to family conflicts, and no one knew that he had experienced a tragic incident that led to amnesia and homelessness. When the police chief entered the room and saw his father, he was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. The man sat there, his eyes filled with tears as he saw his son, a strong man he hadn't seen for many years. Emily stood there witnessing the emotional reunion between father and son. The police chief, who was usually stern and rarely showed emotion, was now kneeling in front of his father, his eyes filled with tears. He took his father's hand, unable to speak. The man gently took his son's hand, as if wanting to convey all the love he had kept in his heart over the years. Emily couldn't believe that the man she had helped was the police chief's father. She felt proud of what she had done, knowing that her compassion and perseverance had created a miracle in this family's life. This was not only a happy ending for the man and his family, but also a profound lesson for Emily about the importance of kindness and unconditional help. Emily's actions quickly spread throughout the community. Her post on social media had attracted the attention of many people, not only because of the touching story of the man's family reunion, but also because of Emily's courage and dedication. She didn't give up and brought a miracle to a family. Many people shared her story, praising her as a symbol of goodness and humanity. Local newspapers began reporting on Emily and the man's story. People in the neighborhood witnessed a change in everyone's attitude towards the homeless and those in difficult circumstances. Emily's actions served as a reminder that anyone can fall into a challenging situation, and each of us has the power to do something to help others. One morning, as Emily stepped out of her house to go to work, she saw a group of people standing in front of her house with bouquets of flowers and banners with the words, "Thank you, Emily." She was surprised and touched. They were people from the community, those who had followed her story and wanted to express their sincere gratitude. Emily received the bouquets, her heart filled with love. She understood that what she had done was not only helping one person, but also inspiring an entire community. With widespread attention to her story, Emily was invited to an interview on a local television program. She had never imagined that she would become the center of attention like this. She felt a bit nervous, but understood that this was an opportunity to share her message with more people. She wanted to emphasize the importance of kindness and unconditional help, hoping that her story could inspire others. In the interview, the host asked Emily about her feelings when helping the man and his family. Emily shared sincerely that she had never thought about becoming a hero or doing something great. She just felt it was the right thing to do at the time. She talked about the strange connection she felt with the man and the challenges they had overcome together. The host and the audience in the studio were captivated by Emily's sincere story. Many people were moved to tears when they heard her recount the reunion between the man and his daughter. Emily concluded the interview with a call to everyone to always be ready to help those around them, because sometimes a small action can change a person's life. After the interview, Emily returned to the police station. Her colleagues, who may have previously only seen her as a young officer with little experience, now looked at her with different eyes. They saw her determination, courage, and compassion. These qualities not only made Emily special, but also changed the way they viewed their own work. One afternoon, as Emily was preparing to leave the station, one of her older colleagues, a veteran officer, approached her and said, "Emily, you have taught me an important lesson. I used to think that our job was only to maintain law and order, but you have shown me that sometimes we need to do more than that. Thank you for reminding us of the value of kindness." Emily felt touched to know that she had not only changed the lives of the man and his family, but also made a difference to the colleagues around her. She realized that becoming a police officer is not only about enforcing the law and maintaining order, but also about showing compassion and helping the community in the best way possible. After everything that had happened, Emily felt that she had grown a lot. In the past, she always thought that her job was simply to protect the city from crime and danger. But now she understood that the duty of a police officer also includes helping the vulnerable, those who need help most. She decided to use her position to continue supporting the community, especially the homeless and those in difficult circumstances. Emily began to participate in the city's charitable activities. She spent her weekends volunteering at homeless shelters, helping people find housing, food, and the most basic necessities of life. She was no longer just a law enforcement officer but also a friend, a sister willing to share and help others. One day, while Emily was volunteering at a support center, she happened to meet a man she had once helped while on patrol. He had found a job and started rebuilding his life. He came to the center to help others just as Emily had helped him. They talked to each other and he shared that it was Emily's actions that inspired him to change his life. Emily felt her heart filled with happiness. She realized that what she had done was not only helping one person but also creating change and spreading it throughout the community. Love and compassion have great power, and Emily knew she would continue this path, not only for herself but also for those around her and for the community she cherished. Emily became close friends with the man's family. After the reunion, the man's family invited Emily to dinner to express their gratitude. During that warm evening, Emily felt the love that filled the house. Margaret, the man's daughter, shared with Emily their memories, the peaceful days before everything became difficult. Sarah talked about the ups and downs of the family, the difficulties in finding her father, and the hope that never died when she believed that they would be reunited one day. Her story touched Emily deeply and reinforced her belief in the value of hope and perseverance. The evening ended with sincere hugs and heartfelt thanks. Since then, the relationship between Emily and the man's family has grown closer. They keep in regular contact, and Emily feels as if she has become part of their family. On weekends, Emily spends time with Sarah and the man, having dinner together and sharing everyday stories. She feels her life has become richer and more meaningful because of this relationship. Emily also often takes the man for walks in the park. He has gradually recovered and started to regain joy in life. These walks have helped him regain both physical and mental health. Every time she sees him smile, Emily feels an overwhelming happiness, as if she has truly done something meaningful. Emily's actions not only bring joy to the man's family but also inspire the community. More and more people are starting to participate in charitable activities and support those in difficult circumstances. Emily is beginning to see a significant change in her community. People seem to be more friendly and caring towards each other, willing to help those in need. One day, Emily received a letter from an anonymous person. The letter said that the writer had been inspired by her story and had decided to change his life. He used to be a drug addict living in despair, but after reading Emily's story, he was determined to give up his addiction and start over. He thanked Emily for giving him hope and motivation to change. Emily read the letter, her eyes filled with tears. She had never imagined that what she had done could make such a big difference. She realized that sometimes even a small action can create a chain of positive changes, spreading from one person to another, ultimately affecting an entire community. Emily began organizing meetings and discussions about compassion and helping others. She invited people who had experienced difficult times, like the man who had found a job with her help, to share their stories. The meetings were not only a place for people to listen and share, but also a place to ignite hope and faith for those facing difficulties. After all her efforts, Emily was honored in a special ceremony organized by the police chief. The ceremony took place in the large hall of the police station, with the participation of her colleagues, family members, and those whom Emily had helped. Everyone came to express their gratitude and respect for Emily, who had brought hope and change to the community. During the ceremony, the police chief stood on the stage and spoke about what Emily had done, about her courage and compassion. He emphasized that Emily was not only an excellent police officer, but also a compassionate individual and a shining example for everyone. He presented Emily with a certificate of commendation and a special badge to recognize her contributions to the community. Emily stepped onto the stage, feeling emotional and proud. She had never imagined that her actions would be recognized and honored in this way. She looked out at the audience and saw familiar faces: the man, Margaret, her colleagues, and those she had helped. They were smiling, their eyes filled with admiration and gratitude. Emily could not hold back her emotions. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she received the badge. She spoke sincerely, thanking everyone for their support and help throughout her journey. She said that success was not only hers alone but belonged to everyone who had worked with her to make the community a better place. Emily hoped that her story would continue to inspire others and that everyone would always remember the value of compassion and mutual assistance. After the ceremony, Emily received a special gift from the man's family, a small bronze statue depicting a police officer protecting a child. Sarah said that the statue symbolized the compassion and protection that Emily had given to her father and to the community. Emily held the statue in her hand, feeling warm and deeply proud. In the following days, Emily continued her work but with a new sense of purpose and determination. She no longer worked just out of duty. She worked for the community, for the vulnerable, those who needed help. She knew she couldn't change the whole world, but she could start with the smallest actions with those around her. One afternoon, as Emily was patrolling, she saw a little boy trying to help an elderly man carry a heavy bag. The sight made her smile. She knew that kindness was spreading, and it all started with her actions. The little boy looked at her and smiled as if to say, "I will do as you do." Emily felt her heart filled with hope for the future. Emily's story is not only a story of courage and perseverance, but also a story of love and compassion. Sometimes a small action or a simple act of kindness can change a person's life and even transform an entire community. Emily has proven that the power of love has no limits, and she will continue her journey, bringing hope and change to those who are struggling. Emily walks her path, not knowing what awaits her ahead, but she knows that with love and compassion, she can overcome anything. She continues to dedicate herself to the community, continues to help those in need, and continues to inspire everyone she meets. And with each step she takes, she carries a promise of love, of hope, and of unwavering perseverance. What do you think about this story? If you were in her position, what would you do? Have you ever made a small decision that changed someone's life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may inspire many others. If you find this story meaningful, don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones to spread the message of kindness, empathy, and second chances in life. Thank you for watching and supporting. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next meaningful stories. Let's work together to create a better world, one small but meaningful action at a time. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared for the purpose of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any errors, please forgive them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.